President, you can read.
Try to make it do that part.
It is 6:30 and we will call the workshop to order in the city of Cosmopolis to discuss building permits and potential changes. We'll turn the floor over to Bill.
Okay. So first off, I'd like to say is that the ICC building codes, which we all have to follow, are adopted by the state of Washington under title RCW 1927-020 and the WAC code under 51, chapter 51. Currently, we're operating under the 2018 codes, but shortly by July of this year, we will be adopting the 2021 codes. Those codes have already been adopted by the state. Normally, the codes are adopted a year after, so 2022, they would have been adopted, but because of COVID in the last couple of years, we're kind of behind the time limit that they always adopted the codes. So tonight we'll be talking mostly about the residential code. They're all highlighted differently. The residential, the IRC, the commercial codes are the IBC, and then so forth, the mechanical and all that. So under R 101.3, the intent, the purpose of this code is to establish minimum requirements to safeguard the public safety, health, and general welfare, and for the safety to life and property from fire and other hazards attributed to the built environment, and to provide safety to the firefighters and emergency responders during operations. Under section R 105 permits, it says permits are required. Any owner's authorized agent who intends to construct, enlarge, alter, repair, move, demolish, or change occupancy of a building or structure, or to erect, install, enlarge, alter, repair, remove, convert, or replace any electrical, gas, mechanical, or plumbing system, the installation of which is regulated by this code, or to cause any such work to be performed, shall make an application to the building official and obtain a permit. So just about anything that you do under some other than the exemptions that they provide in the codes. So under R 105.2, work exempt from the permit. Exemption from permit requirements of this code shall not be deemed to grant authorization for any work to be done in any manner in violation of the provisions of this code or any laws or ordinance of this jurisdiction. So items that are exempted from permits. So we had a citizen complain about how to get some permits for certain items. Number one is under accessory structures. City of Cosmopolis requirement is residential single-story detached accessory structures. So provided the floor areas do not exceed 200 square feet. The citizen's argument is that Grace Harbor County allows accessory structures up to 800 square feet. Okay. The argument that the city unnecessarily reduces the total square foot permitted before a building permit is required. Now, that's not exactly true. Cities in Grace Harbor County are their own entities and are not subject to the rules set by the county. IRC exemption, one-story detached accessory structures provided that the floor area does not exceed 200 square feet. So the fact that the city is reducing it is inaccurate. County just moved from the 200 square feet to 800 square feet. But counties also have a lot, the properties are a lot larger than in the cities. And Aberdeen has gone further than that, and their exemption is 128 square feet. Although that's going to be changing. Because our building official has too much work to do, and trying to look at accessory structures that are over 128 square feet is taking up too much of his time. So as you can see, most of the cities in Grace Harbor County follow the 200 square foot exemption. Also in the cities, you have zoning issues as compared to the county versus the cities. Lots in the cities are smaller. County land versus the county land use. Cities have issues with setback rules, area percentages, whole list of extra things. The number two was the fences. City of Cosmopolis requirement, all fences require building permits. That's kind of a misnomer. Yeah, we give out building permits, but fences technically follow under zoning codes. So you're not really getting a building permit for a fence, you're getting a zoning permit to allow the fence. The IRC exemption is fences not over 7 feet high, and Grace Harbor County does not require a permit. But like I indicated, cities have issues with with zoning. At one point in time, Aberdeen required permits for fences and then dropped that requirement. But found out they were starting to have issues. So in 2018, we again started requiring permits for fences. They found out there were numerous violations concerning the placement and height limitations on fences. You have fences in right-of-ways. They require permissive use permit. You have concerns with the traffic vision clearance triangle and alleys versus street corners. The other argument was sidewalks and driveways. I'm not exactly sure what the citizen was complaining about there or what they were referring to, because we don't require permits for sidewalks or driveways because that's flat work. Unless it's over what it indicates in the building code for 30 inches above grade. Permits are required for driveway approaches because you're doing work in a right of way and they have to be approved by the city engineer. The other issue was decks. City of Cosmopolis requirement, all decks require a permit. Grace Harbor County does not require a permit unless over 30 inches above grade. And then a few other issues. City of Cosmopolis, he states, it unnecessarily requires permits for decks that are below 30 inches above grade. Well, decks are a very contentious issue concerning safety. Many decks in the past have failed because they were improperly built. Were fastened to the structure they were attached to. Now, repairs to decks depends on what's being done. And replacing the deck boards without affecting the structural integrity of the structure does not require a permit, but the replacement of structural members does require a permit. So, and most cities in the county require a permit for decks. Under R 507.2.1 concerns the wood materials for the construction of the decks. It requires the materials to be treated. And I have found decks in the past that have been started with and without a permit, that they were not using treated materials. So treated materials versus non-treated materials, your deck's gonna last longer. You're not gonna have the safety issues that you have with treated materials versus a deck that's gonna rot out faster on you if you're using non-treated materials. The other issue with siding, City of Cosmopolis requires a permit. Grays Harbor County does not. It says that Cosmopolis unnecessarily requires permits for siding replacement. Well, under the ICC, Chapter R703 specifies the requirements concerning the attachment of siding materials, nailing requirements, wind resistance, types of materials, and so forth. And there's also then the issues with manufacturers' requirements concerning the placement of siding materials. What type of material are you using? How does it have to be nailed? The last issue was windows. City of Cosmopolis requires a permit for the replacement of windows. Grays Harbor County exempts the windows, unless it has to do with structural issues. He states that Cosmopolis unnecessarily requires a permit. Well, back in 2012, there were changes that were done to the ICC codes that subsequently changed how inspectors look at window replacement. They caused a change and require windows to get permits. Permits not required for window replacement are if you're changing the glass and not the whole frame. And then you have energy code issues that have to be looked at. And they are continually changing and getting stricter. And also windows are not one of the exemptions in the ICC codes. So in conclusion, argument that the county does not require permits for some work, it's not applicable to the city. As I indicated earlier, cities are separate entities and not governed by the rules of the county. Insurance companies also will not insure if work has been done without a permit and or inspected. So I gave you a handout that comes off the City of Seattle's website that gives you basically just about everything that I've been talking about. Safety, insurance companies, complaints from your neighbors, improperly built, building without a permit, cost you extra money. Something I'd also like to bring up is the fee schedules are outdated for this city and need to be upgraded. Currently, the fence permit is only $15. And that does not cover the staff's time for issuing the permit or for inspecting them. Also, fences, right now, if you want to put a fence in the city right away, all you do is sign a permissive use permit. And that's it. Well, there's no fee associated with issuing a permissive use permit. So again, that $15 doesn't cover the staff time to issue the permissive use permit and issue the permit and then go out and do the inspections. Might note that Aberdeen's permit fees for fences went up from $50 to $80, and the permissive use permit went up to $150. Just the amount of work it takes to be involved in that. Also, mechanical and plumbing fees do not cover staff's time. The building permit fee schedule is based, and I found this to be true throughout most of the cities in the county, that are still based on the 1997 UBC schedule. Although there's a square footage calculator that we look at for new buildings, residences, etc. That's changed every 6 months by ICC. So right now, I think in order to, based on the square footage for a new residence, it's $166 a square foot. And that gives me the valuation for the residents, and then I go back and I look at the fee schedule, and that's where I determine the building permit fee. As far as I know, Aberdeen is the only one that doesn't use the 1997. They have upped their fee schedule back in the early 2000s, and it's going up again. They're changing it. So also on mechanical fees, the average mechanical fee is about $38. Yeah. That doesn't cover my time or the staff's time. And Aberdeen bases their mechanical fees kind of like the building permit fees, although it's a reduced dollar amount. So whatever the cost of whatever's being put in. Kind of like same if you were to get a building permit for new residents. Plumbing, fixtures, the base fee for plumbing, I think is $20, and each fixture is $7. Aberdeen's is $11. So it brings in a little bit more. And basically, if you look at, what it says here for Seattle's handout, you'll get kind of an idea of the reason why we've had building codes, and building codes have been around since Hammurabi. So, are there any questions that I didn't cover? Go ahead, Jim.
I've got one. This really doesn't matter to me because we don't live in Seattle. We talked about years ago eliminating building permits for re-roofs, re-sides, new windows. If the county is on board in doing that, tell me why we can't.
The reason why county doesn't or exempts re-roof permits and siding permits and window permits, because they only have 2 inspectors. And the Grace Harbor County is a lot larger than any of the cities in town, and they barely can cover the inspections that they have now versus if they had to look at re-roofs and windows and siding. Their argument is it's a maintenance issue. Based on what I read in the building codes and from what I've seen from all the other cities, the reason they don't exempt them is because there are special requirements in there. County looks at it, if you have your roof replaced, it blows off, that's your problem. That handout kind of explains it. The reason we have that is for safety.
I get it,
And
but
if
at the
it's
same
all-
time, if my roof blows off, are you gonna get a hold of the contractor
No,
on my behalf?
You have,
So,
yeah.
so it's the
Well,
homeowner.
my job
and a
is the
contractor.
responsibility to make sure that it's done for the manufacturer specifications.
But I'm saying, from my side of it is with water, sewer, everything else going up, I'm looking for something for the residents to help them. I understand
Yeah.
fences. I totally get
Yeah.
that. Fences have to be placed in the correct location. They have to be the correct height. I get that. But at the same time, if windows, siding, and some roofs, they're going on when you're not here. Anyway, they're happening on the weekends. People are doing it.
Yeah, but they get caught too.
It's already done.
I mean, we have the same issue over in Aberdeen where they're doing the work without permits, and we issue countless red tags over in Aberdeen for building without permits and stuff. But the argument too, that a building official in the county, and I won't name names as far as who did it or who said it, and it's kind of a snarky comment. You can't afford the permit fees, then maybe you shouldn't be doing the work. Because the permit fees are a very small percentage of the cost of the overall job.
Yeah, where I'm at though is Causy's, you said it, our permit fees aren't covering.
So you want to take away more permit fees to make sure that,
Well, you
Or
want to
even
raise the
less.
permit fees. I'm saying why permit them in the first place? Because they're not altering the integrity. No structural integrity is being compromised by a
Well,
re-roof or a
I-
siding or a window.
I found that one of the things is that people, when they have a new roof put on their house, are expecting a contractor to do the work the way that it's supposed to be done for manufacturer's recommendation and requirements. But then when something goes wrong, they point their finger at the building department. And they're expecting us to do something with it when they don't realize that, you know, there are contractors out there that don't do good work.
Sure, if I pulled it, if I pulled a permit. Then yes, I would expect that the building inspector. But if I don't, we're not gonna see eye to eye on it. That's, I brought it up, not because of what was emailed to the council. It was something we brought up years ago and never went anywhere, so I brought it back up at the last meeting.
Yeah, the main reason for building permits, is safety, like health and safety.
And I get that, but by a re-roof or a re-siding or a window replacement, to me, isn't life or death. You're not altering the structure.
Yeah, but if it's done improperly, you're compromising the integrity of the building. Where you're probably gonna end up doing more work. That's gonna become structural later on down the road.
That's all I know.
When you're looking at these, I mean, looking at if the permits do stay, I mean, looking to adjust them to better reflect the cost, but when you're looking at this, I mean, and kind of looking at different cities and comparing to Aberdeen, is there anything in our current codes that you see that could be or should be changed outside of the permit fees? I mean, are there things that we overly do or that should be done more or?
No, I think most of the cities are on par with each other. I know as far as the three cities around here, Aberdeen and Hoquiam and Causey, were basically all requiring the same amount of permits. There are a few exceptions in the county. I can't think of right offhand which ones said what, that some require permits for certain things and others say no, they don't. Montesano requires permits for decks. I can't remember his answer for the windows. Elma was basically about the same as everybody else.
Where did carports fall in this?
That's a structural issue. So anything that's involving structural in the building code requires a permit. So when you look at that definition there, intends to construct or enlarge. That's where you're gonna need a permit. Anything that's involving in the building codes involves structural issues.
I think it would
And
be,
if you look at, you know, yeah, we're up here in the northwest, but we're in the seismic zone D2, which has different requirements than up in Seattle or something. You look at the codes. ICC kind of made it uniform throughout the United States for the building codes a number of years ago, so that everybody was on the same page, because there are all kinds of different codes all over throughout the United States based on where you were at. With these codes that come out by ICC, the reason that we usually adopt them a year after the fact is because our state building code council goes through them and makes any changes that they want to see. That, and usually, like for the state of Washington, our energy code is a lot stricter than what's in the ICC codes and throughout the rest of the United States. Florida has different codes because of the hurricane issues that they have. California has different higher stringent rules for seismic because of their potential for earthquakes down there. So yeah, the codes vary, but usually they're a lot more stringent than what's in the ICC codes.
feel like, it would be I mean, not easy, but simple enough to kind of. I can do some research and do some comparables with the other cities, see, kind of do a comparison to see. Fees and requirements and kind of the basic overview and. We can, I don't know which. Committee would even be.
I believe that falls under public works.
Might be, we can do some comparables and bring it back and see if it's something we need to look at and adjust in the future. That sound good? I will set myself a reminder to do that, work.
And if anybody wants copies of what I just got, then. you know, I can provide you copies with that. I'll leave it with Julie and she can make copies and give it to everybody.
That'd be great. Thank you. Anything further from the council? Hearing not, it is 6:55. We'll call the workshop to a close and reconvene in 5 minutes for city council. Thank you. It is 7 PM and I will call this regular city council meeting to order. If you please rise for the flag salute. I. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will start this evening with roll call.
Councilmember Maka. Present. Councilmember Carlisle. Present. Councilmember Ansich.
President.
Councilmember Robinson.
President.
Councilmember Wenzel.
President.
And department heads are accounted for. Next up is approval of the agenda, and I am gonna ask for an adjustment to the agenda to swap items 5 and 6, if the council doesn't mind. Moving in the swearing in above the presentation. If the council would like to move to do so.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the amended agenda to swap items 6 and 5. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Now your time, chief. Come on up there.
We're pleased to be bringing on a new police officer, Nick Bailey. Nick's first day will be tomorrow morning. We're excited to have him on board. He'll be leaving for the academy in just a couple of weeks. We're able to squeeze him in after a few phone calls were made, and instead of waiting the average 11 to 12 months to get somebody up there, we're getting him in right away. So hopefully we'll have him back in July and we'll have an opportunity for his life in his badge on. In the meantime, Nick, right here for me, sir. Good afternoon, all right? I, Nick Bailey,
I, Nick Bailey,
do solemnly affirm that on my honor,
I do solemnly affirm on my honor,
I will never betray my badge,
I will never betray my badge,
my integrity,
my integrity,
my character,
my character,
or the public trust.
or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage to
to hold myself and others accountable
hold myself and others accountable
for our actions.
for our actions.
I will uphold the Constitution
I will uphold the Constitution
and the community that I serve.
and the community that I serve.
Go. Part 2. Almost done. I,
I,
Nick Bailey,
Bailey,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the laws of the Constitution of the State of Washington,
the laws of the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
perform the duties
perform the duties
of the office of police
of the office of police
officer to the best of my ability.
officer to the best of my ability.
Try to break that up because I know I can use it if I don't. Steve, gonna do this in front of you, sir. Spot here. For him. First reading.
Welcome to the box. Appreciate it. we're gonna take a couple minute break just to make sure everybody gets some photos and things to finish signing documents, but we will. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, give us some time, but. We will move on to the agenda to a presentation regarding the Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority. Good to see a lot of support from the officer. Chief? Chief? Yeah, we are gonna take a little recess. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. We'll return at 7:11. Yeah. Yeah, I think we all got. it. reconvene the Cosmopolis regular city council meeting and return to the agenda with a presentation regarding the Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority. Are you gonna be my?
I am.
Perfect, all right. All right, well, thank you for having me introduce myself. I'm pretty sure everybody here knows me. Matt Miller, I currently live at 1013 DeWitt Drive in Cosmopolis. I'm also the City of Oakland Fire Chief. I'm here to make a quick presentation on the RFA and where we are. Obviously, we have your chief here, Nick, but he's voted me to come up here and speak. And we've also brought Corey Schmid, the City of Oakland Finance Director, to go over the funding part. If we have any very specific questions, I cannot answer. I wanted to start this off to remind you all that this presentation is for you, and tonight, hopefully you'll be voting on this and following through. And this, all this is doing tonight is say that the Cosmopolis City Council approves this resolution so that it can go to the voters. This isn't saying it's enacted tomorrow. For the record, the city of Aberdeen, I just found out, had a special meeting tonight and they just approved it. We just got a message earlier. So it was tabled in their first meeting last week. They had a workshop at something tonight. Hoquiam rescheduled their meeting for next Tuesday, and I'm crossing my fingers that we should be passing it over there. So I will move on. The Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority plan. Obviously, the participating agencies are Aberdeen, Hoquiam, and Cosmopolis. So what is a regional fire authority? This is allowing us, and you all can read, I'm pretty sure we can all read that up there. I'm gonna paraphrase this because I could be up here all night. You all are used to me talking, so I'll try to slim it down. What this does is make a separate entity away from the cities to run fire and EMS services for Central Grace Harbor between Aberdeen, Hoquiam, and Cosmopolis. We already kind of work together in a bunch of different aspects. This is formally putting us all together. And it'll establish a governance board to oversee this. So we'll be separate from the cities with representation from the cities. Why? That's been a big question for a lot of people, and there's a million examples up there. Everything from economies of scale. The most common example used is per NFPA and the Washington State Rating Bureau, not the NFPA, Washington State Rating Bureau. For every 10 fire engines you have, you should have at least one backup in case that one breaks down. Well, City of Cosmopolis has one fire engine and they have to have one backup. Aberdeen has 2 fire engines and a ladder truck, they have to have one backup. Hoquiam has 2 fire engines in the ladder, have to have one backup. We don't need that many backups, right? It's just kind of redundant in all these backups and reserves that we have to have. That's just a prime example. So when we go out, instead of Aberdeen having to buy a new engine and us and then Causey, we can all pull these together and make a better long-term plan to buy new fire engines, new ambulances, what have you. It also goes into specifically EMS. EMS is a huge part of our operations, and it's also a huge part of our budgets, and EMS supplies are not getting any cheaper. When you can buy in bulk, just like going to Costco, you can buy, the 100 Band-Aid or 1,000 Band-Aids at a better price than you can 100 Band-Aids 10 times. So we can take that opportunity to buy in bulk across the board and supply all of us. Again, as you can see, I don't need to read every single thing to you guys, but there's a lot of benefits to the Regional Fire Authority, and we can just improve our services across the board. Go ahead. How is this plan different from the rest? So I'm pretty sure you all are aware that Aberdeen and Hoquiam tried to do this 2 years ago and a year ago, and it failed both times. So one of the biggest problems was the funding mechanism. And with that, we have changed some of the funding mechanisms. We've obviously added Cosmopolis and the volunteer cadre that you guys have here. That's all coming in. The funding mechanism has changed. I don't want to get into it because it gets people confused, but we had a funding mechanism that was not well liked by the public, and that we took out. We'll get into that in just a little bit in a minute. The governance has changed. So when it was Aberdeen and Hoquiam, there was going to be One person from each city appointed from the currently elected officials as non-voting members. And there was going to be, remind me, one in each city, right? And then one at large. When Cosmopolis came in, it is now 3 at large between all 3 cities. We had to make them at large because of discrepancies in population base between all the cities. So they are 3 at large. And then there's been some changes in the verbiage in the transfer of assets, specifically the fire stations and how that will be transferred to the RFA from the RFA at a later date if needed. So how will this RFA be funded? Number 1 will be the tax levies. Currently, all 3 cities are collecting $1.50 for fire. That $1.50 would then shift to the RFA. An ambulance utility or availability fee. As of right now, we just have the estimates because we don't have all the direct numbers. But right now, that is probably the biggest increase that every citizen will see, and it'll be the same across the board. And right now, we've given estimates at $50. And that is by taking away an EMS levy away from Hoquiam and taking away that previous benefit charge that we were using in the last go around. There's also transport fees. So Aberdeen and Hoquiam are obviously ALS, Advanced Life Support, BLS, Basic Life Support Transport Units. City of Aberdeen provides transport services to Causey currently and has for many, many years. So with that, there's some fees in that we bill for our medical transports. And then we have service contracts. Currently, Aberdeen has a contract with Cosmopolis. They also cover Arctic and North River and the eastern side of Wishkah. Hoquiam covers pretty much a cone north of Hoquiam. So we cover almost or over 500 square miles. When you include, we go all the way up to Lake Quinault, the west side of Wainuchi Dam, and we meet Pacific Beach, Palos Crossing, North Hoquiam, and the East Hoquiam side, or the east or the west side of District 10, which Aberdeen covers half, we cover half. So there are service contracts between the 2 of us with those. So currently all 3 cities pay an ambulance availability or utility fee. It will go up. It's when we're trying to when we're trying to enhance the service across the board, the fee will go up, but it'll be the same fee whether I live here in Cosmopolis or somebody lives in Hoquiam. It'll be the same rate for everybody. Go ahead. Would you like to cover anything additional on the
No,
funding?
just on the property taxes, Matt explained that the $1.50, the city's currently collecting the $1.50. So the $1.50 that's gonna go to the RFA is gonna be deducted from the city property taxes that they can collect. So just keep that in mind. That's not an increase to your property taxes. That's a deduction as to what the city could collect. So the major increase is the ambulance availability fee.
So goals for our RFA is maintaining, and our goal is to improve our quality fire and emergency medical services that we provide to all 3 cities. With the idea of citizen and firefighter safety being of the paramount top concern that we're gonna have. Stable and sustainable funding, improved efficiency and effectiveness of our operations. Again, you've all heard all of the examples that we've given, but we're trying to get more firefighters to a scene quicker and the appropriate resources between all 3 cities to a fire EMS call, CPR call, whatever it might be. And between Aberdeen and Hoquiam, with our call volumes increasing, there's the opportunity for a slight hesitation in response because multiple calls and having to call one department or the next. This would help bring all 3 departments together, utilizing the volunteer staff here in Cosmopolis, and in a sense, taking the opportunity to send the volunteers somewhere else. I mean, they're gonna be crisscrossing across all 3 cities. It will no longer be the Cosmopolis Fire Department, it'll be the fire station, but not the Cosmopolis Fire Department. Won't be Hoquiam, it'll be Central Grays Harbor RFA, and we're gonna cover all 3 cities. We will not be bound by the borders of 3 cities, we're here to support all three cities. It'll promote future growth within the organization, and one of the things you've often heard us talk about is recruitment and retention. Right now, we are two small departments, you're a small volunteer department. It's hard to recruit people to come in and say, hey, come play with us, come work for us. Well, we don't look as attractive as up north. There's more growth and more promotional opportunities in bigger departments. And with this plan, we believe that the idea of that promotional and growth potential, this would attract more people. And we've also talked about it, taking advantage of the volunteer staffing that Nick is currently recruiting to come in and have that be a pipeline, if you will, for new recruits to be paid staff within the Central Grace Harbor RFA. And then with that, providing a representative governing board. So again, 3 at-large positions, and then each city would appoint a sitting elected council person as a non-voting member. So each city would still have their voice in the RFA if there's, to express their concerns. Go ahead. What's next? Like I said a minute ago, Aberdeen just approved it. Tonight, you guys will be voting on it. Hopefully, we'll be voting on it next Tuesday. If all 3 cities adopt the plan, on Thursday, the 23rd, I will be hustling my little butt up to the county to turn in a resolution to take this to the voters. Once that happens, the plan will be published or put out for public view on all 3 cities' websites, and any other forum that we can come up with. It's not going to be a secret. It's out there for anybody. We will be holding educational open houses within the fire stations. Seems appropriate that you should have it in the fire station. So we'll try to do multiple at each and educate as many people that want to come and ask questions of what the plan is, what it consists of, and how it operates. In the past, we have put informational flyers in with the water bills that get sent out so that, not everybody has Facebook, and not all people like to go hang out at the fire station on a Thursday night. So we try to send those out so people can read about it. The ballot measure will be in April of 2023. If that were to pass, we will move on to commissioner elections. And I believe that it's based off the number. They have to apply earlier in the year, like July, and is it May? And if there's enough, there's a primary, otherwise it goes to fall. Commissioners will be voted on. And then the RFA will take effect January 1st, 2024. Some of the discussions and comments that we have heard numerous times is, why is this not the plan? Why is this rule? Why is this fee? Why is this idea not in the plan? And it's not up to the RFA committee to put the rules in the plan and dictate the rules for a entity that isn't even created. You have to wait and let those commissioners, elected commissioners, come up with the fine details. The committee laid out a very thorough plan that covers as much as it possibly can without overstepping its bounds. That's been a very common question that we've heard of, why isn't this in there? Why isn't that in there? That's not the committee's responsibility to set rules for an entity that doesn't even exist yet. Go ahead. And there we go. I tried to make it as short as I could. Any questions from the council? All right, thank you for your time. I'll go sit back in the corner.
Thanks, Chief. It is now time for public comments from anyone from the public that would like to make a comment on agenda items. The floor is open. As always, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, but and keep it to agenda items, but floor is open. Go ahead.
Steve Davis, Cosmopos. So on the RFA plan that we proposed tonight, you have a proposed income. You've basically shown that with the utility fee of $50 per utility connection throughout Aberdeen, Oakland, Cosmopos. And you show $1.50 per thousand assessed value to the same Aberdeen, Oakland. But in the plan, there is no projected expense out there. So how do you know that the proposed budget that you've set for yourself of $50 per month per utility connection, 100,000 or $1.50 per thousand assessed value? How are you confident that's enough money? Any projections on what your proposed expenditures would be?
Sorry, is this an element?
Yeah, because this is such a big topic.
So the $1.50 per 1,000 is set by RCW, and the RFA cannot ask for any more regular property taxes. If so, it would have to be an excess levy that would have to go out for additional, or go out for voter approval. The $50 for the ambulance availability fee, we have said that is just an estimate. As Matt explained, the commissioners, if this goes forward and is approved and it comes to fruition, the commissioners will then create a budget. And then from there, once the budget is created, that will set the ambulance availability fee, and there will also have to be an ambulance availability fee study to set that fee. It can't just be set by the RFA. So there's a process. We're just providing a estimate as to what it could look like. That's the best that we can do. We used the 2023 budget from Aberdeen, Hoagland, and Posey to use as guidance to provide what an estimated cost would be. So, that it is an estimate, but it's the best estimate that we could give because we base it upon current budget of each city.
Anything else?
The commissioners, the elected commissioners of the Fair County. The elected commissioners, that's proposed to be a paid position.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very minimal,
So the answer is yes, those are to be paid positions.
Yeah, there's a stipend, and I don't want to misquote. I want to say it's a per meeting.
like, I want to say it's around like $50 per meeting. Like,
Yeah.
It's not,
It's the same rules that districts have and everything.
We found it.
it's not like a
Any
county
kind.
commissioner or a city commissioner. It's not.
It's not a full-time job. Council.
Thank you. Any other comments on agenda items? Hearing none, moving on to consent agenda. Claims vouchers, meeting minutes from the previous meeting. What is the council's pleasure, if any? Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. Moving on to committee reports. We will start with Public Works.
Yeah, we did have a meeting tonight. We went over the credit card policy. The changes that are coming up in that. Jeff also got an estimate from a subcontractor on some cemetery care. The same one that is doing the First Street and Second Street. Kind of looking at that as a pilot program, if you will, to give him a little bit of a, him and his guys a little bit of a reprieve. See how it goes for a year. He will be bringing that up under his report too for action tonight. We looked it over tonight. It looks like, between First Street, Second Street and the cemetery care, gonna be around 3,500 a month. It's cheaper than hiring somebody right now to help him out. He's made a lot of work, on setting the new water meters. But still has a lot of things that have been falling behind for years, so. Jeff will talk more about that under his report. That's all I got.
Perfect, thank you. Public safety.
Yeah, we kind of had a loaded meeting here. Let me bring it up. Well, Chief Lehman's gonna talk about a lot of the items that are on agenda items that are coming up later, surplus items. The emergency vehicle operation course training and the navigator position, those were the main items. From the police side and with Chief Valley, I know we had a shorter agenda on that side. I know we talked about credit card policy on that one, I think. And then, Nick, what else did we have? I can't
Pretty much
remember.
in my red report, there wasn't a whole lot. We also got the DNR agreement.
Right. So mostly just everything got moved forward to the agenda tonight that we talked about in public safety.
Perfect. Parks, Rec and Cemetery.
We did have a meeting and most of our items are on the agenda, but we talked about VFW memorial banners. And flower pots along First Street. And then there was some discussion about the community gardens at Akron Park. So we'll touch on that when we get to the agenda item.
Perfect. Moving on to City Finance Subcommittee.
Again, so we had a short agenda for finance. We talked about credit card policy that I mentioned earlier. And then we talked about update on the city budget through February. So it's just a really quick update.
Thank you. City official reports, Police Chief Lehman.
Lots of stuff. Most of it is on the new business. What is not on new business is for letting me honor Nick and swear him in this evening. Some good phone calls were made, some strings were pulled. Instead of waiting up to a year to get him into the academy, which would have cost us a lot of money for no return for a long time. We were able to get him an academy date, March 21st, which is a big deal for us. Prospective date of graduation will be July 27th, and then we'll have his 13-week FTO period. Final steps, background process for our lateral hire. We're hoping for a March 1st start date, but we'll see. Always at the psychologist and everybody else getting their reports back to us for the mandatory testing that we have to do. We also opened up for just 1 week and accepted applications for a police clerk after we lost our clerk for personal reasons. It's quite amazing response that we received with over 100 applications, a bunch of them being very good applications.
We probably had 140 to 150 applications for that clerk position.
Yeah, I was trying to lowball it because I didn't know the number, but it was a lot. Anyway, very pleased to say that the process went very quickly. And we had some very good applicants, one that stood out clearly numerically on the rating of the oral board process and application process, and additional offer of employment has been made. And we're hoping within 2 weeks, we can get somebody started. In the meantime, the front office area of the police department is going to be locked. With the exception of, we're going to try to get a couple hours a day to borrow and steal from City Hall to have Christina over to help us keep business flowing, and our officers are going to be stepping up and handling duties as best as they can. But please be patient with us, and I'm sorry that the doors are going to be closed for most of the day, but we're going to make it work. Other than that, again, most everything else is under new business.
Thank you, Chief. Fire Chief Valley.
Thank you, Mayor. Estimated written report. I don't have much other than what's in the written report. If you want to make sure that everything's off the scene and down. For the fire department. Got those set up in the last couple of weeks. And then as far as training goes, we were able to complete our FCDA fit testing this last week, and Aberdeen, Copeland, and Fire District 2 helped us
Thank you, City Administrator Reigns.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. Can we put my report?
Yeah, let me find it here real quick.
Just want to touch on one item that's attached to my report. And it is a little bit of work that HDR Engineering is doing along Mill Creek for the Mill Creek multi-objective plan. And it just kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at.
I
As far
can't,
as the
I can't get it because I'm not on that work.
So anyway, what they're looking at doing is surveying from C Street, Mill Creek Park, all the way down to where the levee is, where the tide gates are. They're looking at all the culverts, stream width, and gradient, throughout the stream, obstructions, anything that could be a potential project down the road to enhance both stream flow and fisheries. So it's just kind of a, I've been talking about this project off and on for about a year now, and you haven't been able to see much as far as documentation and pictures. So this is the first example of what we have until we have our first preliminary report from them, probably, I guess, around May. So anyway, just wanted to touch on that. The rest of it is in my written report. Thank you.
Perfect. Public Works Superintendent.
Yeah, so I just want to give another update on the meters. We've been working on meters every single day. Since January 9th, we're at 160 meters. So along with take care of that stuff. So we're about 200 to go. I can't wait till they're over with. We got a lot of other things to do, so. And then the other thing is the cemetery mowing agreement, which we're gonna get to at the end. I'll kind of explain and answer any questions anybody has on that as well. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Finance Director. Oh,
You didn't forget me this time.
we did put yourself on the agenda, so I'm trying to fill in the gaps.
The only thing I have to add is spring cleanup. April 17th through April 22nd will be spring cleanup, and we will have vouchers available in City Hall on March 1st. So please swing by and grab your voucher.
And City Attorney Steve Johnson.
Yes, I do have the court report. Ordinarily, we have court here in Cosmopolis on the third Thursday of the month, which would be tomorrow. But because our court clerk is on vacation, we have moved it to next Thursday, the 23rd. That's it.
Perfect. That is all for that. So we'll go to the mayor's report and just a couple of things, super simple. One thing, just a community note, this week Grace Harbor College is holding some public meetings to meet finalists for a potential new president. Dr. Carly Schiffner spoke yesterday and took questions. Tomorrow at 3:30 in the Man Speaker Building or via Zoom. Dr. Kenneth Lawson, and on Friday at 3:30, Dr. Bradley Fuster. So I encourage residents to attend and ask questions of the people who could be leading our college into the future. So it is open, it'll be on Zoom, and it will be in the Man Speaker Building in room 2255. Another thing I have tonight is council committees. I brought it up last meeting. Reached out to the council to see if there was any requested adjustments or changes or things that we could adjust with the council committees. And so I did make a couple adjustments. So committees as they sit now, Finance Subcommittee will be Councilmember Wenzel, Councilmember Carlisle, Public Works, Councilmember Ansich, Councilmember Marcus, no changes to either one of those. Public Safety, Councilmember Wenzel, Councilmember Carlisle, no changes. There was a change with Park, Rec, and Cemetery. That will be Councilmember Carlisle, and I am adding Councilmember Robinson to Parks, Rec, and Cemetery. And auditing is Councilmembers Ansich, Carlisle, and Robinson. But I believe that taking Miles off committee and loosening your load a little bit and letting Ray get a little more action was a good move. And that is really all that I got.
I've got one question though.
Yes.
Do you mind doing the auditing?
No.
Would you mind? Only because it's tough for me to find time to get down here to go over those as thorough as I could.
That's not a problem at all. So auditing Councilmember Marcus, Robinson and Carlisle. And that's all that I got. Oh, it is not a necessity, but if the council so chooses, at this time, if anybody wants to make nominations, self or otherwise, as consideration for Mayor Pro Tem. This is not a requirement to take a vote, but I just want to ensure that the option is there. If the council has the opportunity to either reconfirm or reconsider. Jim's done a bang up job for the times necessary, but I don't want to not give that opportunity.
Second.
Are you sure?
Would you accept that nomination, Jim?
Sure.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of reconfirming Jim Ansich as Mayor Pro Tem? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
You're in, but you don't got to do the auditing anymore, so.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I am done. So we'll move on the agenda to new business. Starting off, as the presentation tonight, the joint resolution for Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority to place it on the ballot. If you could read the
Okay,
whatever the term.
this is a joint resolution, and for the purposes of Cosmopolis, it would be resolution number 2023-01. A joint resolution of the City Council of the City of Aberdeen, the City Council of the City of Cosmopolis, and the City Council of the City of Hoquiam, providing for the submission to qualified electors of Aberdeen, Cosmopolis, and Hoquiam at the special election to be held on April 25, 2023, of a proposition that pursuant to chapter 52.26 of the revised Code of Washington, approves a plan to form a regional fire protection service authority within the boundaries of Aberdeen, Cosmopolis, and Hoquiam, effective January 1, 2024, and providing for other matters properly related thereto.
And as a reminder, this plan and the approval to put it onto the ballot would need to be approved by all three cities. Earlier tonight, the city of Aberdeen passed it. And again, a reminder to everyone here and everyone watching online that a vote tonight is not to approve the formation nor to enact the changes. It is purely to approve the planning and allow for residents to decide if it's something that they want. So I will open it up for motions from the council.
I make a motion that we approve the joint resolution for the Central Grace Harbor Fire Authority. I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the joint resolution for the Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So passed. Moving on to item B, police surplus items.
You or me? Go for it. You have it in front of you. Yeah, I do. Got a lot of cleaning house going on. We're asking to surplus the list that we provided to you, a bunch of computers that are inoperable, that were found that taken care of a long time ago, some of which failed recently. And all of which have been replaced, one with the purchase we had to make for a pool car, and the rest were replaced by donation from Jeff Seaman with what's the company name? I'm sorry.
PC Technology.
There you go, PC Technologies donation. And then Adam and Jeff both donated their time to set them up for us. Pretty significant gift to us. But we're looking for destruction for all of those. And then there's the firearms that I've listed, the shotguns in particular, because of changes made through the legislative process. We need to find a better way to go about things. So we're looking to get some credit for those to start taking care of and getting some better tools for solving less lethal problems. And then the 2008 Ford Crown Victoria, which it's more money to keep it running than it is value to have rent. So it's a sinking ship that I want to get out from underneath.
So.
Yes, sir.
I got one question. Is there still a charger sitting down at the
Yes,
city shop?
the guy is making arrangements. He's
Okay.
out of the state has been the problem. So we are working on that. But he did pay for it.
Yeah, the auction was completed.
Yes, the auction was completed and Gov Deals did collect payment.
Oh, and the building, kind of a big thing, to leave off, sorry. Apparently the council already approved for the surplus of the building. And I was asked to re-present that to you because it's been a new fiscal year and it's still sitting there and just want to make sure we dot our i's across our t's. We did find somebody to take it, but we got to jump through the hoops. So that's also something I'm asking you to do tonight. So kind of left off the big one, but. The trailer house donated to us from where I was, it was manufactured in 1972. Yes.
So we looked at that and that's okay to go through with the surplusing the trailer the way that's presented tonight.
Well, I don't know who the person is that's taking it or company, but it's legal to declare it surplus, yes.
So council has in front of them surplus, a number of surplus items. Is there a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the surplus items that were presented this evening.
Second that.
Moved and seconded to surplus a number of items from the police departments. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Moving on to item C, petition for street vacation. Darren?
Yes, this is something we've actually done. Several times in the past, and it's titled a street vacation, but it's actually releasing interest. In some property, and I'm trying to pull it up here so I get the exact description for you.
I've got it in front of me.
This is up in the Aberdeen Railroad Edition off of what was platted as Ocean Avenue. This is adjacent to Los Angeles Street. And this is the half. It would be the east half of Los Angeles Street adjacent to it. I'm trying to get the blocks here for you.
Lot 16 of block 27.
The east 30 feet of Los Angeles Street from the center of Ocean Avenue to the south city limits of Cosmopolis, adjacent to lot 16 of block 27 in the railroad addition to Aberdeen. So I should have gave you a map. But it's similar to what we've done. It is the same as what we've done up in the Corbin Road, Ocean Avenue, Florence Lane area over in the past. We don't have right to this property. It was vacated by operation of law back in the 50s, so it's just a formality. We release interest in it.
Does the council have any pleasure on this action?
Can you bring it up on the,
I don't have anything to bring up.
no?
Yeah, they bring it up on our pictometry, but.
Do you want it?
If you've got one, yes. It's not. Yeah, Nick's gonna get a physical map and I can show you folks.
It's so, I guess just to get in my head, it's the end of Ocean.
Well, it's down Ocean Avenue where Tacoma is getting ready to cross it to the north. But it's the south, the most southern part, Los Angeles Street, perpendicular to Ocean Avenue.
So the trailer court side of our
There.
property
That way.
and Lance's property, basically. it's the
Right.
trailer court
Okay.
side.
So I was gonna say Ocean gets to the
But it's out in
creek.
those woods.
It goes, Ocean goes past.
I don't know.
Is this that piece of property that's been landlocked?
There's several back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I know at one time there was a. I'm gonna go down one by one.
The area we're talking about is right here. So there's a section right there. Half a block.
Don't have any interest in building a street there or anything.
Well, we don't have the right of way to it. It's not, it was vacated. Right now, nobody owns
It,
that.
it was vacated when it was still in the
What's
county.
gonna happen when we do this? If you approve that.
The only people that have the right to that is the two adjacent property owners. This property owner has this half, has right to this half. Across Los Angeles, that property owner has the right to the other half. So we can't, as a city, keep that because we don't have the right to it unless they signed off on it to us. Okay. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes,
Like Los Angeles, is that even a sign street or is that?
No, none of these are signed.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So we're looking at right here, this area. Oh. Well, it's actually right here, because that's the
it's
southern
just an
boundary.
untapped street.
Okay, that's the end of the crib.
Yeah, so it's right, right here.
Same thing we did on the Ocean Railroad.
Yeah. You're right. It's all brought up timber right now.
My only question, it can't come back at some point. Like what's happening up there.
It would be a benefit to the property owner to have that, if they can get access. For them to build something. It would not benefit us to hold on to it at this point. And it, as far as to answer your question, it wouldn't affect that.
Hearing the release of interest for the street vacation. Yeah, does the council have a motion regarding this?
Make a motion, we move forward with the street vacation.
Moved and seconded to move forward with street vacation release of interest for east 30 feet of Los Angeles Street from the center of Ocean Avenue to the south city limits of Cosmopolis, adjacent to lot 16 of block 27 in the railroad addition to Aberdeen. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. We have a parks grants this evening for First Street flower pots and Macrenco garden plots. You want?
Yeah, is Linda on? You do want-
No.
No, she's
Not on.
she's gonna try to be on, but I don't think can. She's at an event tonight, so I can, if you wanna start, I can help you with it.
She submitted this proposal that I included in the agenda packets, and she was unable to attend to that.
So basically, they're wanting to purchase a total of 14 commercial concrete planters from Baby Ready Mix. I believe the first go around, they're gonna try to buy 7 and then get the additional 7 later. What streets were those all gonna be on? Here, just along, it'll be obviously along First Street, but I can't remember where they were gonna start.
That I don't have, but it was gonna be on each street corner, and what they're wanting, permission from the city is to seek funding for that. And they will be, the Friends of Highland Park and Linda will be writing a grant to get funding. There's a couple of agencies that we think we have a really good chance to fund that, and they will be running the funds through their books, but they want to have city permission to be able to seek that on behalf of us, because it's going to be something on public right of way. And there's a very nice aggregate, both aggregate planners, similar to what Aberdeen, I think Oakland's got some too.
They're gonna be partnering with Hoagland's beautification committee to
yes.
purchase a bunch of this stuff, so it doesn't cost us much.
And
What's
she
the
does,
maintenance, with that.
100% them is what they said.
Yeah, all volunteer.
I'll volunteer. And she does say, first 7 planners and then moving on to the right side of the corridor.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the east-west, I don't know,
Similar to the snowflake.
yeah, but which one's right and which one's left?
She's probably good.
Depends on where you're standing.
Yeah,
So.
Directionally back.
yeah, so one side of the street and then the other side of the street. And then. Let's see. Anything further?
I don't have anything to add, but I'll make a motion that we approve them to apply for the grant.
Moved and seconded to approve, allowing Friends of Highland move forward with their corridor beautification project and funding requests. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Who's, I know we just put out a contract for the maintenance on First Street and Second Street. What's the intention on the maintenance of these flower pots?
They have, groups already willing to take care of it. They're kind of gonna adopt the corner is the plan, so 100% all volunteer. And they're working with, the cities of Aberdeen and Hopeland beautification committees and, they've got some support there for materials and buying power to buy things at the same time.
Yeah.
They've really put a lot of work into figuring it out, so it's very minimal impact to the city's labor needs at this point.
Okay, and that's why I asked, I don't think, Public Works needs any more maintenance put on them.
One thing they will be using in the cities is the water to water them. And we have ports in mainly every block to be able to water. So that will be something they will be using.
Any issue with that?
No, just a matter of getting them set up to be able to use that. And that is metered too. So we can see the meter. We read the meter every month on it, so.
I guess the most obvious question, another obvious question is, what about beautifying the flower beds that we already have at the corners?
That's what the landscaping company's trying to start to do now, and
Yeah,
hopefully those will, they're working on them as we go. So
that I meant,
So the plots themselves are gonna have, not yearly flowers, right? They were just gonna be,
Perennials.
so, yeah,
Yes.
so when Aberdeen and Hopeland have their planters up that they hang, since we aren't able to hang stuff, they are gonna have them on the ground, and those are the type of, that'll be it. So they'll be colorful.
Further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. I'm sure Linda is already aware that it's passed, but if anybody, she's on top of things. Next,
Just a little
Yeah.
on the McWrinkle garden plots.
oh, yeah,
You have some interest as well, if people wanting to help get work parties together or find grant funding to clean up the garden plot area. Those plots were put in over 20 years ago and all the timbers are pretty much rotted out. A lot of the soil is bad condition. So trying to look at rejuvenating that whole program. And so not looking to apply for grants yet. But it is something that's on the radar, so we just want to get that word out there. So if anybody asks you, about those, that is something it's gonna be looked at as part of the Friends of Highland Park and some other groups that are trying to get together and help take ownership of the parks and improve them. So it's a huge relief to us. It's things we simply don't have the time or funds to do, but they're helping do a lot of things that are gonna be a great benefit to us. So we'll keep reporting on that as we go forward.
perfect. Thank you. Moving on to the VFW banner donation. Do we have?
Yes,
Okay.
I've been approached by, help me pick one of these, by the Aberdeen VFW, and they've been talking about this program for quite some time. And what the intent is to hang these banners on the light poles, the black pedestrian lights right along the sidewalks going through town. And it's in memory of fallen service members from Cosmopolis. And if we don't have enough to fill up every pole, the next criteria would be a Medal of Honor recipients from Grace Harbor or Cosmopolis. And then if we still don't have enough to fill all the poles, the next would be on the southern end of 101. They would look at putting up ones for folks from Pacific County. So on these ones, there's two choices here. This one Jeff's got is just a one-sided. That's it doesn't have anything on the back, but it's got the flag on the front, just one name. This here is two different types for two different names, one on each side. And then there's talk about also now adding, if they're a Medal of Honor recipient, putting a decal of that honor on there, that award. So this is something they would like to have the city say, approve of putting up these on our banners. We're looking at probably from just before Memorial Day through, I think we're talking Labor Day. We'd like to have them go to Veterans Day, but you know, you get the bad weather in October, November. I just don't think they would hold up that long. So this is all donation. They put together some funding from the VFW, but also from private donations. And this is something they would like to see, you know, take off in other communities as well. But they would like to start here just simply because of the way our poles are set up. And we would assist them putting these up. So they're just looking for the city's blessing to do so. And also your opinion on which we like.
And again, these are samples. They're not, I mean, they kind of put them together. So
Yeah,
it's not
the
like
fonts-
this isn't gonna be the exact.
Yeah, there's
Exactly.
some fonts that need to be changed, you know, and adjustments on that. So that's really a rough start, you know, so far. So we'll work with them on that and try to get some more examples to where we can get it fine tuned. But I think it's something that'd be very nice for the community and to show a lot of support for, you know, lost heroes.
Those things mean a whole lot to the veterans. You know, at myself, I'm a veteran, served in Iraq, and to see this brings a tear to my eye. And I think that would be a wonderful thing to have in this community. I'd love to see it in Aberdeen and Hoquiam as well.
We have about half amount of poles that we need to put these up, because you need to keep them good and tight, so. We're gonna do a check of about how many we need, so. That would probably come purchased through them or.
Yeah, we'll work with them on
However,
doing
we need
that.
to do that. So,
Do we need a motion or is this just
I
if
think
any-
the motion would be nice. They would like to have that support.
Motion. So is there, what's the council's pleasure? Is there a motion and support to allow the VFW to move forward?
I would make that motion.
Moved by Ray, second by Stana, to move forward and allowing the VFW to move forward with these banners to honor the veterans. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. Thank you, VFW. Next up, item E on the agenda, the interlocal cooperation agreement for emergency vehicle. The operating course? Yeah, the EVOC. That old thing's popping over the word, so, Chief, can you give us a brief rundown of it?
One of the biggest liabilities for us in the police department is driving vehicle operations. Fire department, I think, would include that, probably public works as well, back in collisions. One of our biggest liabilities. So training standards for us is yearly emergency vehicle operation course, and we've participated for quite a few years now doing regional EVOC training. Prior to that, we were paying quite a bit of money to travel to the Washington State Patrol Academy paying for their instructors, and we were paying in the neighborhood of, I'm aging myself here, but it's about 20 years ago. We were paying, I think, $250 to $275 per officer, in addition to overtime and drive time and the other expenses to go up there and interact with their instructors. Since then, though, we've been doing localized, regionalized training. It's done just outside of the city limits here on the Fort Dock. As far as the, it's not the right one, not Fort Dock, what's Bay City, thank you, my brain won't like on me. Out Bay City there. So that's been going great. We've contributed in an instructor, but the need for it to grow a little bit for the purposes of including training called PIT, which is Pursuit Intervention Technique. It's the ability to end pursuits through means of basically a controlled spin of the vehicle, is training that needs to be done yearly for us to be able to have that tool in the tool belt for the rare occasions that we still get to chase bad guys. That requires extra cars and instructors and certifications, which is a resource we don't have. So the solution to it was to regionalize it with all of the agencies in the county. And for those that aren't contributing vehicles, we pay $25 per officer per year to do the training. So this is the contract, and that's what we're asking to do, is be able to contribute to a pot of money to pay for the expenses of our officers to attend this training here locally at $25 per officer per year.
What's the council's pleasure? We have room in the budget for that?
Yeah, I think that was budgeted in your
Okay.
yearly, so I'll make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement for emergency vehicle operation force training.
Moved and seconded to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement for EVOC training. Any discussion?
Is that, he, do you use their vehicles for everything or just for pit?
For the pit, we use our own vehicle, the car that's assigned to the officer, for what's called a pursuit course, which is a neighborhood of 45 miles per hour, but on a flat track with cones. We also do training with what's called stop sticks or spike strips, basically, in a controlled environment, of how to deploy those so that you can get yourself run over with flattened full car tires. And there's also a skills course, which is slow speed navigating with a focus on backing. So there's four main areas that are focused on for that training. And the big expense now is the pit portion. And that's why the fee.
That's all I got.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So passed. Moving on to the DNR interagency agreement. You felon.
You guys don't have to help me with this. It's the same agreement that was approved back in September. Chief Graham brought it forward in September, and you guys voted to have him sign it. What happened with this agreement, when it was sent to DNR, it was sent the same week that the gal who handled these agreements went on maternity leave, and it got shuffled in the paperwork out at DNR. When I reached back out to them, because we're having backlog with training records, they said we don't have an active agreement. They were able to track it down. It never got filed properly at DNR. They asked that we sign a new one. I ran it past Steve Johnson. He asked that we bring it forward to the council again for approval again to sign this agreement. So this is to have firefighters here certified within national wildfire coordinating group certification levels. Typically referred to as red cards, and it does open up funding opportunities for the city in the event of wildland within the phase fires that we can build at the DNR for a certain.
I make a motion we approve.
Moved and seconded to approve the DNR interagency agreement, and just to confirm, minus just contact information, this is the same agreement.
Yes, they changed the letterhead, was their big, they did something different with their logo, but the content was the same, and we had to review it.
You'd like the new logo. Not a big part of it, it's good.
wonder how much that costs.
And the proper amount. Uh. What's the council's pleasure on this? Did we have a motion? for this?
Yes.
No, so,
Motion is second.
discussion on this, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Moving right along. Regarding the navigator position, behavioral health navigator position. Currently in place.
Okay, so this one's kind of a tough one for me, but 2 years ago, the council approved a grant between Oakland, Cosmopolis and Aberdeen for a behavioral health navigator position. That funding expires at the very end of June of this year. The program should have been brought to the council last year by all 3 cities, but something got missed and that didn't get done. No excuses made, but it is expiring. We've been asked to fund our portion, which a full year would be about $19,400, but since it's expiring at the end of June, that would be an $8,000 contribution. My answer to the group when they did it was that it wasn't a budgeted item, and I have some additional concerns about it, but the totality of my thing is it's a very needed position. If you have been watching or hearing anything about the mental health problems that are plaguing us, we are not immune from those problems in Cosmopolis. It's a very real thing. The problem lies in that I'm struggling with it being a police department governed and controlled program. The legislature has communicated that they don't want law enforcement involved in mental health. And yet here we are in charge of it. So I'm a little torn on that aspect of it. But I do think the position's needed. I don't think it's going to go away if we say no. We're just not going to probably have contribution to our community like we've had before. There's also been some discussion. I haven't been able to or aware of the meetings, but I've been advised that the county is possibly looking at stepping up and other entities through the state. So I'm not confident it's going away, but if we commit to it, I think they're looking for more than just 6 months. They're looking for a long-term commitment for it. So I'm not sure how you should proceed, but I provided the information of what I have, and it's your guys' choice of what you want to do.
Just a quick question. I mean, the current contract ends at the end of June.
Yes. It's done in June.
I mean, but tonight or over the next month or so, we're not under a gun to.
We are under a gun because the state wants a letter or a confirmation that it's going to be funded and continued or not.
I mean, like now, or is it something that we can look at and come back next month?
Now, basically.
Basically now,
Yeah,
that's as soon as I had the meeting with Oakland and Aberdeen, when they asked us to discuss it, that's when I asked for the public safety committee meeting, and that's when we brought it. And I don't have additional details. I do have, I printed too small of a copy of it. I have the original agreement you guys approved of. And if you don't remember the details of it, I'm happy to try to explain it better. It's been a great program.
Have to have an agreement to bring before the council.
So-
For us to take action.
Isn't the problem that the grant was through WASPIC and it was only a 2-year grant?
Correct. And that 2 years didn't start in our normal billing cycle. It was basically July to July. And it got missed last year by all 3 cities that it's expiring in the middle of the year and something needs to be done. So it wasn't necessarily us, but it was us as well. So we got missed.
And I know that the Hogan police chief has been talking to the county,
Correct.
and they're gonna try and get the county to take it over through the health department.
Correct.
Because like you said, the view is that it shouldn't be a police function, it should be a
Correct.
function of the health department. But I don't know how that discussions going right now.
Yeah, I'm personally torn on it because I want it. I also don't want to put myself under the crosshairs of our state legislature and the powers that be for being in control of handling mental health stuff. So it's a complex situation to say the least.
So I think our biggest issue here tonight is it's not what we budgeted just a few short months ago. Coming out of his budget or any other budget at $8,000
was the number I was given.
expense. When we're still in tough times. Of course, I don't know when payments due, but. I have a lot of heartburn about this as well because it is an essential service. But for whatever reason, not knowing about it before we went into budget season. I don't know how we pull it off. For some, obviously for larger cities, it's probably not as well, no, their cut's larger, because ours was a 20%.
Yeah, it
So-
is a percentage based upon our size and our portion was only 20% of the 100% for the funding. But my understanding, and maybe I'm not getting this correctly, but they're not looking for just the $8,000 finished the year. They're looking for a commitment to fund the 19,400 for 2024.
And I think that's that's hard to commit now and then try to commit for future.
But because
years,
of
but-
WASPIC, they're asking for to finish the grant. Sorry.
So,
For us to approve, is it?
well, but
It was just.
even if there was
It's
an
an
agreement on
extension
that,
agreement that you already made is, they're looking for that $8,000, yes or no?
Because you need the dollar amounts in the agreement for the council to approve, when you.
Is it the same? Wow.
The dollar
I
amount
don't
in the
know.
contract that was previously given, it would be
Same exact thing.
a 6-month portion.
I think the big thing for the council tonight, not only with, agreeing to the future, but just for that 6-month time period. This is not the only state mandate that we're gonna be talking about soon either. We have other things coming up that are also big concerns. For both departments, but specifically the police department, things that might not fit in that budget either. While this is an essential service, it's not mandated that we pay into it.
That's a factual statement.
And do we know the exact amount that we have to pay, or we estimate?
The dollar amount I was given was $8,000. And if we were doing it in 2024, the amount would be $19,400. If you want to table it,
Yeah.
that's fine, and if it's dead on our end because it took too long, then that's the choice that's being made by continuing it, right? That's your pleasure to do so.
There might be potential that you learn something else, especially if Hoquiam is talking to the
Well,
county.
Aberdeen and Hope, when they're both discussing just funding it themselves
So maybe they'll.
and buying time to
Gotcha.
try to get it through the county.
So I'd make a motion to table this till next meeting.
Well, second that.
Motion to table, any decision on the behavioral health navigator position. Any discussion on the motion to table? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. That motion is tabled for now. Item I, cemetery mowing agreements.
Okay, so as Jim mentioned earlier, last meeting, we had a contract with AJS Services to do First Street, West of the Park. This is a separate agreement to take care of our cemetery. I went through and kind of did an audit of how many mows we do a year. How many holidays we make sure it's really nice before Mother's Day, Father's Day, all of those really, really important holidays to make sure those things are nice. And then I gave it to the same company that's doing our First Street. He come up with a number. I know we talked about this last meeting, that I was gonna go out and try to find and see what it would cost us to do that as well. He gave me a number that's a little high to begin with, and then he come down because this is like Jim had mentioned, it's kind of a trial year of seeing what that's gonna cost. He come up with $1,350 a month for the next 9 months, which is $16,200 to mow the cemetery. It's 14 times that they will be mowing. Basically, they will be here twice as many times to make sure that, you know, the debris removal, the blowing, so all the maintenance that has to be done up there. This doesn't include burials. We still do burials. That is all funded by the families of that. So this is, just like Jim said, this is gonna allow us to go do the normal maintenance that we should be doing. We spend a lot of time in the cemetery, especially in the spring. And of course, with not being able to hire somebody right now, this is not replacing that. This is just another thing that needs to be done so we can get out and do the other maintenance that we haven't been able to do. It's also gonna help with the budgeting. We're gonna be able to sit down at the end of each year, and this is only to the end of this year. We're gonna be able to sit down and look back at First Street, and we're gonna be able to look back at the cemetery and be able to budget for the next year, if possible. Obviously, I would like to have enough crew members to eventually back to do this ourselves, but right now, with 3 people and the amount of workload we have right now, it ain't gonna happen. We're gonna have the same complaints as we did last year if we don't do something. So it's basically to get us to the end of this year to see, hopefully we'll be able to hire another position with us. And for us to actually mow the cemetery in a year, it's right around $18,000. That's just our salaries. That's not our benefits. That's not our fuel. That's not our, Julie and I sat down and did a rough estimate of what it is. And it's cost effective to have somebody else do it. You're just paying them for a service. And you're not having benefit packages for like us, you know. So what I'm asking is for permission to let the same AGS LLC to be able to mow our cemetery to the end of the year. Just like the contract is here, it's set up the exact same. I'm in contact with them. We go over what needs to be done. We've already done that, but as they come here, we go over it, and we're in contact with, you know, all the time. So that is pretty much it for that. Does anybody have any questions?
How does that look on your budget?
Well,
Like, that's
good.
something you can cover.
Because so I did a little budget comparison of the last few years, and our actual last year was $40,000 in salary. You know, that obviously it wasn't perfect, but we're only gonna spend 16.2 this year for just mowing. We're not gonna go over $10,000 in burial. It's just, you don't know that because you don't know how many people are gonna be there, but that'll take our costs way down. It'll also help with our fuel. We're not, it's gonna also help with the mower maintenance, and we still have other parks to do. We still have Mill Creek Park, McGregor Park, Franklin Park. We got corner lots. We've got, you know, we still have plenty of parks to mow. So it's just gonna alleviate a lot of time. We spend a lot of time at the cemetery, especially in the spring. So it's not going above and beyond what our budget is.
What's the council's pleasure? Open up for discussion at all?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the cemetery mowing agreement with AGS.
I'll second moved and seconded to enter into an agreement with Apollo Janitorial Services LLC for mowing of the cemetery. One thing I was just noticing, what is our out? If, let's say they do a mow and we say, you know what, it's just not working out.
If there's something not working out, like it says in there, we contact the contractor and bring it forward to them.
Okay,
If they have a certain amount of time to be able to correct that.
So
If they're not up to our standards, like what we agreed on, to bring that to them.
it's the same as the other contract.
Same with us, like, yeah.
thank you. I was
But I asked
reading
them
it,
to-
and just didn't, like, I was staring straight at it and didn't see it. So, thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. That is the agenda, the end of agenda items as far as new business. It's now open to council comments. Councilmember Marcus. Councilmember Carl. Councilmember Grant.
Yeah, I've got one, and please do not take this personal. But I learned from an ad on Facebook that we were hiring a police clerk. I'm not saying we do not need a police clerk. I'm not saying that at all, but we've also had the need for some extra help, Jeff needs help. And I would hope that in the future, when a vacancy comes up, the council is notified and we can have a meeting and discuss this before we just automatically go hire somebody. Another full-time position when we've been trying to fund a position for 2 years with no avail. So that's all I got.
Councilmember Robinson.
I'm good.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to Officer Nick Bailey for being confirmed tonight, and good luck at the academy. Who do you know to get him in within a few weeks? Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I wish I had that luck. So yeah, congratulations, and look forward to him coming back.
Public comments, anybody from the public, any comment on anything?
I just wanted to reiterate what Keith is talking about for the mental health navigator.
You're okay, Deb. She's been a godsend for several families in our community.
Okay, so we've been dealing with 31 years and probably an order police officer. When Lena came on 2 years ago, I can't tell you what a relief it was for the police and for families. And I can't tell you how many times I've been contacted because they know we've been through this, and how many people I have referred to her and what she has done. I work hand in hand with $8,000 is nothing compared to
Hearing no more public comments, it is 8:29. Call meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone.